good people? My name is Adi and welcome back to my channel. Today we are back in the third and final installment of what I'd like to call
rental horror stories.
And this one is the absolute worst. If you missed the last one, I'm gonna tag it somewhere here above so that you can watch it later. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. That way, when I post new things, you can watch them. And those are also going to be about my past experiences with this apartment and other apartments I've been living in, as well as new and hopefully much more positive experiences with the apartment that I'm going to move into, hopefully soon, which is the apartment that I bought with my own hard-earned money. It's my dream home and I do hope that it'll feel like home. So, without further ado, last time we were talking about the problems that you can have when you live in a ground level or a basement apartment. And the worst problem you can have, without a shadow of a doubt, the worst thing that you can have in your home is rats. Big, dirty, filthy, disease-ridden rats. Now, this is my own personal horror story because I used to live in another apartment and it was a ground level apartment and I had the same issue. And that is actually why I didn't want to live at a semi-basement or at a ground level, to be honest. This is why this was my red line. This is why I told my agent to begin with that I do not want anything to do with that level, with that height in the home. And I just want to make sure that you understand what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about mice. I'm not talking about those white lab rats, you know, that are completely sterile. I'm not talking about those cute ratatouille rats. No. I am talking about big, ugly, filthy, disease-ridden rats coming from the sewage, presumably, which should not have any place in your apartment to begin with. Ugh. So let's start at the beginning. I moved into this apartment and I kept hearing them in the drywall walking. And I have drywalls all over. So I was like, okay, well, you know, I mean, it would make sense. It's a basement apartment. There is, I don't know, sewage there or some pipes or some walls. I don't know how that works, but I was like, okay, well, they're not here, you know, they're just walking around because it's a basement, to be honest. Last time that I had this problem, I was living in the ground level. So it's not the same. I didn't hear them then, but now it would make sense to me at least. So I was strangely calm about it. Or maybe I just got used to it. I don't know. At one point I stopped hearing them at all. And I'm not sure now if they didn't actually come back or maybe I just blocked that sound off. I don't know. This is how it was for a very long time. Fast forward 5 years later, one day I open my bathroom door and I have a little laundry hamper basket thingy, and I open the door and I see a rat standing on my laundry basket. Bonk. I got so scared that I just yelled and closed the door and refused to enter, even though I really had to go to the bathroom. I called my landlord and he came to check, but he wasn't home, so I had to wait a few hours until he would come. And by the time he came, the rat was no longer there, so there was nothing that he could do, honestly. But it looked like the rat came from the washer connection box thingy, because there is a pipe that basically covers the connections. And so it was open, it was like a plastic covering that was open, and so the landlord took scotch and covered it. And yeah, it looked a little bit improvised, but to be honest, the rat did not come in through that entering again, so I guess it worked. Everything went back to normal, nothing happened again, life went on as they would, and 2 years later, I had vacation from school, I believe, and I was at home in bed watching on my laptop reruns of The West Wing, because who wouldn't? And I kept hearing noises. These weren't rat noises, these were noises like a plastic bag, like a garbage bag. And I did have one in my kitchen on the floor. I kept thinking that it's coming from the outside because this is a studio apartment, so you can see everything that's going on. I didn't see anything special, there was nobody there. So I thought this was coming from the outside, at least that's the excuse I tried to give myself in my head. But it didn't stop. So every night around 2 a.m., I kept having these noises, and I was still at home watching television at that point, so there was noise also from my TV show, and I kept hearing that as well in addition. After a few days, I had that noise again, and so I stopped the show, and I was just listening. And the noise was really loud. I mean, it felt like it's coming from the inside of the apartment. So I just got up, and I walked slowly towards the kitchen area. And as I became closer to the kitchen area and as my footsteps started to be heard a little bit louder, I heard a rodent squeak and running away. And that's when I realized he was inside the home. After that day, I stopped sleeping properly. I used to go out at times, and when I came back, even if it was quite early, like 8 p.m., I would hear the rat running away as I was entering. My landlord was completely passive about it. Every time I came in to find the rat running away, I called him immediately. But by the time he came, of course, the rat was gone. There was nothing he could do about it. And he didn't sound very worried about it. So he didn't really do anything. I bought those glue traps and I placed like 5 of them one night and just placed them all over the place and hoped that maybe the rat will be caught by one of them. The first night this happened, I was awake when the rat came in around 2 a.m. and I heard him walking, and then I heard him get caught. And he kind of started to cry or to yell, and I came to see and I saw this huge rat. I'm not even joking. This was like puppy size rat. And he was cut and he was struggling. To be honest, it was very painful for me to watch, but at the same time, knowing the struggles that I had really living in the apartment for the last couple of weeks by then, I was, happy that at least it got caught. So I told myself that I'm going to let it glue till morning, and then by morning I'm going to call my landlord once more and we're gonna get rid of it somehow. Well, the joke was on me, because when I woke up in the morning, and I can't believe that I managed to get some sleep, but when I woke up, the rat was gone, but also the trap. So basically, he ate the entire thing without leaving a trace. Now I was completely screwed, because not only did I not catch the rat, now he knows about those traps, so he's not gonna be caught twice. After that day, I stopped sleeping properly. I have work, I have school, I have very few hours to sleep, and I wasn't able to sleep in those hours because I was struggling with the rat. So this has taken a very big toll on me, for my stress levels, for my anxiety. I mean, it was really terrible. I wasn't able to sleep because every time that I managed to get some sleep, it was approximately the time when the rat would start coming into the apartment and it would make noises. And it's a horrible feeling because it feels like you have an intruder in the home. It feels like you have a thief or somebody, that maybe wants to harm you. You cannot sleep knowing that that thing is there. Even if the sound is not there, now that you know that it's there and you can come in, you just expect it, and so you keep on being like super like, I don't know how to say, like super just awaiting for that, even though your goal right now is to go to sleep. Eventually I found out that the rat was coming in from behind the kitchen cabinet. So it was a place that was screwed into the walls. I couldn't take it out and I couldn't see and find where the hole was coming from. My landlord, of course, wouldn't help me with that either. But I knew that it was coming from there because I saw that it was coming when it was running in and out. It was doing that from under the cabinet. So it was somewhere there that he found the hole to come through. Eventually, and after many convincing attempts, my landlord decided to buy one of those really cheap mechanical traps. So cheap that it was just going off even without anybody touching it. So it was really not even worth messing with. Doesn't matter, because in the end I did something that I'm so proud of. To my dying day, this will be my greatest achievement, I think. That night when the rat came back, I got up and I scared it basically, and it wanted to run back to its hiding place, to the hole where it was coming from, which was the cabinet under the kitchen. However, there I placed several glue traps. And when you're panicked, you don't always have the time to consider what would be the best route to take. So he just took the fastest one and he got caught once again in a glue trap. So he got caught, but we've learned from that mistake. So I couldn't let him run away from that one again. So in advance, I prepared some glass jars that were big enough to catch him. So I caught him on both sides, both with the traps and with the jar. And then I just took him, like holding the glue trap and holding the glass, and put him inside my garbage bin, which is metallic, so he can't escape, he can't eat it or anything like that. It was empty, so there was no garbage there, and I just put him there through the night. When morning came, I gave this as a present to my landlord with an addition of shade. And again, this is not just me hating on rats. This is not sanitary. You cannot live with those rats. These are not pet rats. These are sewage rats. Now, you'd think that this would be the end of the story, right? Right? Wrong. It took only a year for the rat to have his friend come with a vengeance. One day, it was New Year's Eve, and I was at a party, and I came back at 5 a.m. and what I found was this. The little rat ate up the drywall. So even now, when there is apparent property damage, my landlord still did not care. I asked him to bring in pest control, and he actually kind of wanted to assist with that, but then his wife urged him not to because it's not their business. And she tried to convince me that it's not a big deal because she once saw on television that in the UK there was some apartment, and the resident in that apartment had a floor full of rats, and it was like a dark floor, so it was all like flowing, you know, all the rats were going with him from one place to another, and the guy didn't care. So why should I care? That's not a real story. Like, I don't believe that one bit. Eventually, after a very big fight between us, they agreed to call pest control, and they did, and the problem was solved. The pest control guy put poison inside that hole, and that same day I already heard the rat coming and eating it, and since that day there was no noise, there was nothing, so I knew the rat was dead. And then my landlord came and did in Romania as a Romanian would, and put a tile over that entrance hole. But after that time, I had about 2 or 3 incidents in which rats came back again. Now, they never entered the home again, not to my knowledge, but they did make serious noise, and they kept walking around between the drywall and I guess the cement or whatever it is outside the drywall. So I kept hearing them all over the apartment in certain hours of the day, including at night, and including where my bed is. So sometimes I would hear them literally next to my bed. Like, it would give you the impression that they are in bed with me and right where my head is. I mean, can you imagine hearing that noise near you? Would you be okay with that? Would you be able to sleep properly? They were scratching, they were, I don't know, messing around with stuff, they were just running around. At one point, one of those noises was again from the kitchen area, and at that point I couldn't find it once more. I bought this ultrasonic device. It's supposed to keep rats away, and to be honest, from the day I put it, I stopped hearing that specific noise in the kitchen area. But when after a while, when I started hearing the other noises, like in my bed area and living area and so on, it was not possible for me to move that device somewhere else, because first of all, you need to have it next to a certain opening because that's how they hear it, and I didn't have any apparent opening. But also, I was really afraid to move that device from my kitchen area now, because I didn't want the rat to come back through the kitchen. Because if he comes back from the kitchen, he ruins my food, he ruins my dishes, I have to disinfect everything again or throw away things. It's not okay. So that's pretty much my story about why I would not like to live here anymore. What do you think? Am I exaggerating, or do I have some basis here? And until then, please consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and let me know what you think about this entire ordeal, especially with the rat. About everything that I said, do you have any horror stories in your rentals? I would really like to know. What do you think is the worst thing that you can have on a rental? This is actually an interesting question. Let me know. Meanwhile, I do wish you a great day, and thank you so much for watching.